A scream shattered the quiet dawn.
Oh, dear
By the
gods!
riverbank,
He is
dozens of
gone, the
villagers
strong
stood
sister.
frozen
Why
around the
did you
body
take
of a
him?
young man lying motionless in the mud.
We are so
His mother
sorry.
knelt beside him, wailing uncontrollably.
Strong sister.
Then someone pointed.
You are
There she
cursed!
is. Every
You're
head
cursed!
turned toward a
Leave this
beautiful
place!
young woman
Banish your
standing
light!
alone
Leave
beneath a
now!
mango tree. Amara, the village orphan, the girl everyone feared. The crowd erupted instantly. How many more people must suffer because of her? Ever since she came here, nothing good has
Leave this
happened.
place! You
She's a
are cursed!
curse. Amara's hands trembled, but she said nothing. She had heard those words her entire life. Children
You are
avoided
cursed!
her. Women warned their husbands about her. And every time disaster struck the village, somehow her name appeared first. The chief stepped forward, his voice cold. Maybe it's time this village finally gets rid of her. A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd. But before anyone could move, the oldest woman in the village dropped her walking stick and shouted, "No!" Silence fell. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked directly at Amara. They've blamed the wrong person for 20 years. And in that moment, the entire village realized the truth they feared might be far worse than any curse. For as long as anyone could remember, Amara had been the village's favorite explanation for bad luck. If a goat disappeared, people blamed Amara. If a child fell sick, people blamed Amara. If rain delayed for a few days, someone would whisper that her curse was growing stronger. The strange thing was that nobody could explain where the curse came from. They simply believed it because everyone else did. Amara lived alone in a small hut near the forest. She survived by gathering herbs and firewood to sell in the market. Most villagers avoided her, but she still greeted everyone with kindness. One afternoon, an elderly farmer slipped while working on his land. Amara rushed to help him and cleaned his injured leg. 3 days later, insects destroyed part of his harvest. The whispers returned immediately. She touched him. That's why it happened. The farmer stopped speaking to her. Amara said nothing. She was used to it. But that evening, something unusual happened. Mama Enkem, the oldest woman in the village, secretly brought food to Amara's hut. As they sat together, Amara finally asked, "Why are you the only person who isn't afraid of me?" The old woman's smile disappeared. For a brief moment, fear filled her eyes. Not fear of Amara, fear of a secret. Then she whispered, "Because the real curse in this village is not who people think it is." The next morning, Amara could not stop thinking about Mama Nimkim's words. The real curse in this village is not who people think it is. What did that mean? Before she could ask again, news spread through the village. The young man found unconscious by the river had finally awakened. People gathered outside his family's compound, eager to hear what had happened. Amara stayed away. She already knew how the story would end. Someone would blame her. Someone always did. But by afternoon, something strange happened. A young man shocked everyone. "I never saw Amara," he said weakly. The crowd fell silent. "Then what happened?" the chief demanded. The young man hesitated. His face turned pale. I I don't remember." The answer only created more fear. That evening, the rumors grew worse than before. Some claimed Amara could erase memories. Others said evil spirits protected her, but not everyone believed it. Near the village square, two elders were arguing in low voices. Amara happened to pass by and heard a single sentence before they noticed her. "How much longer can we keep this hidden?" The second elder immediately glanced around nervously. When he saw Amara nearby, both men stopped talking. Their faces changed. Not anger, not hatred, fear, real fear. As Amara walked away, a troubling thought entered her mind. For the first time in her life, she began to wonder if the villagers were not afraid of a curse. Maybe they were afraid of the truth. For the first time in her life, Amara stopped accepting the village's stories. She started paying attention, and the more she observed, the stranger things became. Whenever people spoke about the curse, the same few elders always seemed eager to lead the conversation. Whenever misfortune struck, they were the first to blame her. And whenever questions were asked, they quickly changed the subject. One evening, while returning from the forest, Amara noticed someone standing outside her hut. It was Daniel, the chief's son. He had recently returned from the city. Unlike everyone else, he had never insulted her. But what she saw next made her stop walking. Daniel was searching through her belongings. Amara stepped forward. "What are you doing?" Daniel spun around, clearly startled. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he quickly left without answering. That night, Amara could not sleep. Why would the chief's son search her hut? What was he looking for? The next day, she decided to find out. After hours of searching through her few possessions, she discovered something hidden beneath the wooden floor. A small cloth bundle. Her heart raced. She had never seen it before. Carefully, she opened it. Inside was an old silver necklace and a folded piece of paper stained by age. Before she could read it, a shadow appeared at her doorway. It was Mama Nienkem. The old woman's face turned white the moment she saw the necklace. Her hands began to tremble. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. Amara looked at her in confusion. Mama Inkem took a step backward. Then she said the words that changed everything. "Your mother wore that on the night she disappeared." Mama Inkem stared at the necklace as if she had seen a ghost. For years, she had prayed never to see it again. Amara's heart pounded. "You knew my mother?" she asked. The old woman lowered herself onto a stool and nodded slowly. "Everyone was told your parents abandoned you," she said. "But that was a lie." Amara froze. A lie? Mama Inkem took a shaky breath. 20 years ago, your parents arrived in this village carrying that necklace. Your father was a respected trader. Your mother was loved by everyone. They were good people. Then what happened to them? The old woman looked away. Before she could answer, loud voices erupted outside. Villagers were gathering in the square. Within minutes, a messenger arrived. The chief wants Amara brought before the council immediately. Fear tightened Amara's chest. When she arrived, the entire village was waiting. The chief stood in the center. His face was hard. "The river incident was the final warning," he announced. "Too many disasters follow this girl. The council has decided. Amara must leave this village before sunset." A murmur of approval spread through the crowd. Amara felt her world collapse. Then Mama Inkem stepped forward. "No!" The crowd fell silent. With trembling hands, she raised the silver necklace high. Gasps rippled through the square. Several elders suddenly went pale. For the first time, fear appeared on their faces. Mama Inkem pointed at them. "You all know this necklace." The chief's expression changed, and in that moment, Amara realized something terrifying. The people accusing her were hiding something far bigger than a curse. The village square fell into complete silence. Nobody expected Mama Inkem to challenge the council. Nobody expected respected elders to look frightened. Amara watched carefully as the chief's hands tightened around his staff. For the first time, he looked nervous. "What nonsense are you bringing here?" one elder barked. Mama Inkem turned toward him. "Nonsense?" she said. "Then tell the village why you recognize this necklace." The elder opened his mouth, but no words came out. The crowd immediately sensed something was wrong. Whispers spread like wildfire. What is she talking about? What are they hiding? Then Daniel stepped forward, holding several old documents. I found these in my late father's storage room, he announced. The crowd gasped. The papers revealed that Amara's parents once owned a large piece of land near the river, land that now belonged to 3 village elders. Amara's eyes widened. That's impossible, one elder shouted. But Daniel wasn't finished. There is more. He unfolded another document. It contained witness statements from years ago, statements that mysteriously disappeared after Amara's parents vanished. Suddenly, the pieces began falling together. The curse, the rumors, the hatred. None of it had happened by accident. Someone had spent years making sure the village feared Amara. And then Mama Inkem revealed the final shock. The night her parents disappeared, she said, her voice trembling, they did not run away. She pointed directly at the elders. They were betrayed. The entire village erupted. For the first time, the curse story began to crumble, and the real investigation was only beginning. By sunset, the entire village was divided. One side demanded justice. The other demanded silence. The elders accused by Mama Inkem stood before the council, their reputations hanging by a thread. For years, they had been respected. They built wells, they settled disputes, they helped struggling families. Now the same people who once praised them were demanding answers. The oldest elder finally spoke. Yes, we took the land. Gasps echoed through the crowd. But we did not kill anyone. The confession only created more questions. Amara felt her heart pounding. If you didn't kill my parents, then who did? Nobody answered. Then Daniel unfolded one final document. His hands trembled as he read it. According to the statement, Amara's father had discovered a secret before he disappeared. Someone from the council had been stealing village funds for years. When he threatened to expose the truth, he became a target. The crowd erupted again. Suddenly, suspicion shifted. The land theft was only part of the story. There was another person involved, someone who had never been suspected. Then Mama Inkem lowered her head. I know who it was. The square became silent. Tears filled her eyes. The person responsible is already dead.
Bundle.
The villagers stared in shock. She pointed toward the chief's compound. It was Daniel's father. Daniel froze. The crowd gasped. Everything he believed about his family shattered in a single moment. And now the village faced an impossible question. Should a son carry the shame of his father's crimes? The village remained silent long after Mama Inkem spoke. Daniel stood motionless. The truth hurt more than any lie ever could. His father, the man he had admired all his life, had helped destroy Amara's family. For years, innocent people suffered because of a secret buried by powerful men. Slowly, the chief rose to his feet. The land will be returned to Amara, he announced. No one objected. This time, nobody could. The council stripped the guilty elders of their positions and ordered compensation for everything that had been stolen. Then the chief turned toward Amara. His voice was softer now. We cannot undo what was done to you. Around the square, villagers lowered their heads in shame. The same people who had called her cursed. The same people who had avoided her. The same people who had stolen her childhood. One by one, they began apologizing. But Amara's eyes filled with tears, because some wounds are deeper than words. Days later, the documents were finalized. The land was hers again. The truth was finally hers. And for the first time in her life, nobody looked at her with fear. Then Daniel found her standing near the river. "You could stay," he said quietly. "The village needs you." Amara smiled sadly. "This village needed me 20 years ago." The words broke his heart. A week later, she packed her belongings and left. Not because she hated them, but because healing sometimes requires leaving the place where the pain began. As she disappeared down the dusty road, the villagers watched in silence. The girl they once called a curse had become the person they respected most, but she was gone. And that loss would remind them forever of the cost of believing a lie. Years later, travelers passing through the village often asked about the beautiful orphan who had once lived there. The villagers would point toward the distant road and say, "She was never the curse." Then their voices would grow quiet, because the real curse had been fear, greed, and silence. And by the time they learned the truth, the person they had wronged was already gone. Amara finally received justice. Her family's name was cleared, and the village begged for forgiveness. Should she have stayed to help rebuild the community that betrayed her? Or was leaving the only way she could truly heal? If you were Amara, would you forgive the villagers and stay? Or would you leave forever after everything they did to you? Who do you blame most for Amara's suffering? The greedy elders who started the lie, the villagers who believed it, or the people who knew the truth and stayed silent?